just got finished watching The Sandman. I absolutely loved it. So many different elements about it were just fresh and new. Structure, storytelling choices, the themes it explored, the way it explored them, the diversity of representation and the way that that worked. Screenshot this now. I'm going to be talking about steps 4 through 8 in this video. Bodhi the Movie Maker here. This is how to adapt books to screenplays part 3. I'm trying to level up my storytelling, and whatever I learn along the way I want to share with you to help you do the same. I have adapted 2 books into pilot episode screenplays and pitch presentations. I'm going to be going over that whole process, but at the same time, I want to keep learning how other people do it. Well, so the last episode was about Game of Thrones. This one is going to be about The Sandman. Sandman is a comic book written by Neil Gaiman and published by DC Comics. The main character of the Sandman is Dream, also known as Morpheus and other names,
aka the King of Dreams, aka Dream of the Endless.
The series is famous for Gaiman's trademark use of anthropomorphic personification of various metaphysical entities, while also blending mythology and history in its horror setting with the DC universe. In 2013, Warner Bros. Announced that a film adaptation starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in production, but Gordon-Levitt dropped out in 2016. So they never made it into a... Neil Gaiman sabotaged the Sandman movie himself. He leaked a script to the press to halt an earlier attempt to bring the Sandman to the big screen, and they wrote a fabulous article about how it was the worst script they'd ever been sent. Yikes. Wow. That was a boss move, Neil. Can you imagine that? Making a series of graphic novels that you love so much that when Warner Bros. Is making a movie out of it, and you see the script and you hate it so much that you pull that kind of a gangster move. You send the script to the news. Wow. I guess that's our first takeaway, is like, honor the work. You got to preserve the vision. I mean, if you're the storyteller, if you put years into writing something, into making something, and then you get in partnership with somebody who just wants to make a buck, and they put together a shitty script, do whatever you got to do to preserve your legacy, your vision. Each episode of this Netflix show stands alone, yet it's part of a continuous narrative. Each episode is different. Each episode was kind of like its own self-contained movie. To me, it felt like a kind of a new take on an anthology series. The way that they structured it, it was freeing to realize, oh, you can have a TV show that structurally doesn't follow the rules of all the other ones. And so we're seeing this story world from different characters' perspectives, and we're shifting around in the timeline. And so with each episode, we kind of get a new view on what happened in the last episode while we're setting up for the next one. Thematically, really makes sense to tell the story in that way for this kind of story, a story about dreams and about immortal characters, because their perception of time and reality is so different than ours that to completely break the convention of storytelling structure is kind of the only way to tell this story. The characters are eternal and they exist in different realms of consciousness and reality, and I just loved it. Okay, so picking up where we left off with the 17 steps how to adapt books into TV, here we go. Step 4, identify your target audience. Why are you writing this script? Are you writing it just for practice? Are you writing it to enter festivals and maybe win screenplay awards and competitions? Are you writing it to send to industry people to try to get hired? Are you hoping to get your TV show greenlit? Or are you going to produce it? Are you the one who's going to make it? So this script is just for you. This is important to clarify now, because if your script is just for you, because you know you're going to produce this show on your own, then you don't have to conform to any of the industry rules or standards, really. This script doesn't need to open any doors for you. You're free to write it the way you want to write it. Yippee! That's because your target audience is you and your cast and crew. The true goal of your script is just to be a blueprint that you can all use to make your show. So you all have one document that you know you're all on the same page and you know what you're trying to make. Most likely, however, you are like me, and you want to send this script around to impress the right people, open the right doors, and encourage those people to help you make your show. In that case, you want the people who read it to have no easy reason to disregard it, to set it down, to throw it in the trash bin. Whoever the reader is in this scenario, you can bet they are very busy. And they probably read a lot of scripts, and they look for any reason to shuffle yours off to the side and make their job easier. One of the best ways, in my opinion, to not get shuffled off to the side is to try to take your idea for your story and pour it into the mold that is the industry standard story structure. Hence, the next bunch of steps we're going to talk about. And if this is feeling overwhelming, don't worry. If I can figure this shit out, so can you. Plus, this whole video is essentially transcribed into a PDF worksheet, so you can follow along. Link in the description. I will be continuously updating that, so if any of this info that's in the video becomes out of date, the PDF will still be updated and have the latest information. The latest information I know, at least. Because I want to encourage you to tell the stories you want to tell. The world needs them, so please do it. High five. Step 5, choose format. Half hour or hour, limited or ongoing, serial or episodic. Loosely, I'm talking about 2 questions here. What is the industry standard length for your show? This question is based on time slots for TV shows so they can fit in the network programming for advertisements. The options are essentially 1 hour and half an hour. It gets way more complicated than that, and now with the streaming platforms, the lengths of shows are becoming more varied, but I chose 1 hour for both of my pilots, aka 60 pages, since a screenplay page is meant to be 1 minute of screen time. Is your show serial, episodic, or a mixture of both? What does that mean? An episodic television series? Is it serial or episodic? This just sounds ridiculous. What are you saying? Oops, I restarted my teleprompter. Darn it. Fucking turd nuggets. Is your show serial, episodic, or hybrid? Serial is when each episode builds on the story of the last, and together they tell one continuous chronological narrative, bringing to mind Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones. The characters, locations, and plot develop and change from the beginning of the series to the end. Episodic shows, on the other hand, tend to reuse the same settings with just new plot for each episode. That is usually resolved by the end of each episode and has little to no bearing on the next episode. In this type of show, you can miss multiple episodes and your experience may not really be affected. The events from one episode don't really build to the next episode. TV shows like Seinfeld or NCIS. 2 main types of scripts, however, are pilot versus spec script. The option there for me is easy because I wanted to write pilot scripts. Spec scripts are when you write a script based on an existing TV show as an example of your writing skills to get you hired on that TV show or that type of TV show, I guess. Step 6. Are you making a premise pilot or a 3rd episode pilot? For context, I'm going to refer to Dan Calvisi's book, so consider this my review of the book. I give the book 5 stars, and I especially like this brief quotation in the chapter titled Premise Pilot versus 3rd Episode Pilot. The term premise pilot denotes a pilot that takes the entire script to fully set up the story that will be continued in future episodes. The structure of the pilot does not represent the structure of a regular episode of the series. The Walking Dead is an example of a premise pilot. There's a lot of ground to cover in setting up the zombie-infested world, so Rick Grimes is the newborn who takes us through it. He is the audience's surrogate. We discover this new world as he does. On the contrary, a pilot that throws us into the action with the premise already set up is often called a 3rd episode, as it uses the same structure as the 3rd episode would. Bam! 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 Thank you, Dan, for writing this insightful book. I found it very useful, and I encourage you guys to pick up a copy for yourself. No, I am not sponsored. Have you seen how many views my videos get? Yeah. I chose to write a premise pilot because what happens in the pilot changes the lives of the protagonists forever. They go from ordinary people to being on a hero's journey, and the decisions that they make in the pilot set them on a path that they will be going down for the rest of the season and series. Step 7. Identify the main themes of your show, the main ideas you're trying to talk about. Identifying the themes in your source material. Look for reoccurring images. Learn to question the material. For example, if the imagery is ominous and dark, you could ask, why did the writer write it this way? Identify the different tools that the writer uses to express certain themes. Step 8. Make a story map. Again, Dan Calvisi's book is great for this. Essentially, identify signpost story beats that do and don't exist in your book. Which ones you can pull from your book and which ones you will have to write. There are many screenplay writing teachers out there, lots of advice online. I've already recommended the book by one of them. His book really boils down what a handful of pilots from very successful one-hour shows have in common. The act structure, the length of each act, and the signpost story beats. Meaning plot points that almost all of these popular TV show pilots share. And usually they're around the same place in the script. So basically, using this book gives you a template for a successful pilot episode. Another way you can get this information is by watching TV shows that you think are like the TV show you want to make. The main goal of Step 7 is to see how your source material can fit into this template. Does your book provide plot points that can fit all of the plot points you want to hit to ensure your script follows the industry standard? If not, then you might want to write those. Okay, and that's steps 4 through 8 of the 17 steps that I took to adapt 2 books into 2 pilot episode screenplays. Again, you can see that at the link down in the description. There's a PDF. I'll keep editing that. That's all I've got for today. Thank you so much for watching the video, and if you've made it this far, please leave a like and hit that bell icon so that when my next video comes out, you'll be notified. And please consider subscribing. It really helps me out. And more than anything, I want to hear your feedback in the comments, your thoughts, your questions. I'll make sure to address them. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this. Okay, love you. Bye. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters. Your support helps me make videos like this possible. Hey, just wanted to let you know, if you sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/Bodhi the Movie Maker, you will get early access to these episodes and a bunch more, including my book, Northport 1999. It's exclusively available on Patreon. And you get signed limited edition note cards. We're also doing secret missions. Once you sign up for the Patreon, I'll send you the secret missions. Once you complete them, you can win prizes. We're going to be announcing the prizes soon, but some of them will include these limited edition note cards, characters and creatures from my book by me and the amazing, talented artist, Gus Trouth.